Hi guys, happy Saturday and welcome to your practical application of astrology. In this case, me sharing my story and my experience and how all the aspects that's been taking place this week, especially the new moon in Virgo, because that was the highlight of the week, and Mercury station in direct, how that has been showing up for me. And perhaps by hearing my story, maybe it will be helpful to you in some way. So I was just looking at my chart actually and how things were showing up exactly when I left Slovakia in 2004, which was of course in a Virgo season, and how that was activating my chart, which is absolutely incredible. Like I couldn't even explain the amount of activation that was going on there. Like it was very obvious that something very profound was happening. And what's happening now? And this is all because with this full moon in Virgo that still happened under influence of Mercury retrograde, and Mercury just stationed direct last night, thanks God. And today, actually, as I speak, we are experiencing the exact trine between Sun and Uranus, and we know there is this beautiful ground earth trine present in the sky that was reactivated by this new moon. And it's also on one side of it we have Pluto, on the other we have Uranus. Of course, Uranus at the moment is still in a trine with Pluto, and then both Pluto and Uranus are in a sextile to Neptune. And Neptune was actually in opposition with the new moon in Virgo. And as I mentioned previously, because of the full moon in Pisces that took place, that was nothing gentle. It stirred up a lot of stuff and brought a lot of stuff to the surface. And as I've been sharing since I've been here, a lot of stuff has been stirred up and brought to the surface for sure. And it's really interesting how now that Mercury has just turned direct, well, apart from the fact that things are starting to work, at least on my end, but how I see things in a different light, completely different light. Like there is this newfound clarity, and to me, it's always amusing to me to have the understanding and the recognition in my own behavior, how I do chart readings for everyone, and I'm continuously tracking what's going on in the sky and on the collective level, but I hardly ever check my chart, which is like, that's the thing I should be doing the first. Like I have a rough idea, like yeah, but I never like go like, oh yeah, what's going on in my chart today? Like it just doesn't happen because I have so many other things to do. And yeah, and today with Mercury going direct, I was just like, okay, well, let me have a look what exactly is going on in my chart, right? And then I checked my progress chart and how my progress chart is impacting my natal chart, and I was like blown away. And I was like, well, of course, this is happening right here, right now, in this reality. And also, I would like to mention how really helpful it was for me to have a conversation this week during my class with my teacher Simon Wurster, and how that was helpful to again put another piece of puzzle for me in a place. And I'm mentioning this because a lot of people that come to me for reading then ask me like, hey, where did you learn evolutionary astrology and who would you recommend? And I send everybody to my teacher Simon Wurster. You can find him Raising Vibration. And actually, I would like to mention a video that I just watched today, this morning. It's been out for a few days. It's not like something that just was released today. But as I mentioned previously, due to my current circumstances, I cannot exactly watch what I want when I want, and I watch things with delay. But I guess it was the perfect day today to watch it. And I watched the latest video my teacher published, which was an interview between him and another evolutionary astrologer. And this is about Virgo. And I will put the link below. So you guys, if you are curious, can check it out. And it's been so helpful. It's been so insightful in to help me understand the process I'm in at the moment, because they were talking about Virgo and, like how Virgo archetype is showing up in everybody's reality, in this case, their reality, but also how this can be applied to other people's experiences. So anyway, so if you guys curious to check it out, I will put the link below for the interview. And then, of course, if you are interested to check out my teacher's work, then, you can find him through his social media. But yeah, what I wanted to say is how completely differently I feel, like literally now, 2 days after the new moon in Virgo, and also after Mercury station in retrograde, station in direct from the retrograde. Because, and that's the actually reason why I chose to pre-record my astrological video first. I chose to pre-record it yesterday because unfortunately tomorrow and on Monday I have other commitments and I won't have the time to record videos, and I want to publish them as I'm used to, or as I would like to. And I chose to pre-record my astrological video first before I do this one. I really wanted to do this one once the Mercury goes direct, and I don't know why I felt that way, but I also felt that, well, most of the aspects that has been present during the new moon in Virgo are actually exactly the aspects that are taking place next week. They are just becoming exact because, they were not exact during the lunation, but they were already active because of the degree orb, but they are becoming exact next week. So I was like, okay, well, it's okay to make the video during the Mercury still being retrograde. Actually, it was completely still, but, still it wasn't technically station direct. And the other thing I want to mention, which I don't know, I'm sure that a lot of people resonate with, that I don't remember myself ever being this picky, like potentially ever. But then again, I was not conscious about astrology in my life, not to this level previously, not even a year ago, because I started being really absorbed in astrological weather since I started doing it professionally. Now I'm really tracking everything. But before, I was just like, oh yeah, I had a rough idea. And before that, prior to 2019, like I had no idea about anything. I barely knew when it was a full moon and new moon. I was like, no clue. I was working on a cruise ship, and I was completely in a la la land, in the land of Neptune, on the oceans and the seas of the world. So anyway, what I wanted to say, that I don't remember ever being that picky, with regards to like, okay, how much preparation do I need for this and this? And I am so extremely critical of my videos that every single video I've been recording since Mercury retrograde, I'm thinking, nah, this is not good. It's like it's people not gonna like it. I don't think I should even put it out there. And of course then I do, but I'm thinking like, nah, I don't think this is a good video. I think what I talked, it makes no sense. It's just and the same yesterday. I'm even thinking like, should I re-record it? Like, like I don't know if it's good, if it's any value to that, like really double guessing. Even the readings, like I actually don't particularly like doing pre-recorded readings. I much more prefer doing live readings with the clients, but I've had some recently that I was asked to pre-record, and it was the same thing. I was like, oh, I don't know whether this is good. Maybe I should do it again, like, and I don't remember myself being so critical towards myself and being so like judgmental and insecure with regards to my work. Like, at the end of the day, I just show up, it's whatever comes through, I just show up, it's not like my stuff. So, why am I being like this, so it was like really interesting to observe, how this Virgo season has been playing up. And then, like I said, after listening to this conversation my teacher had with Ari Mosh, it was very profound to actually see how this is playing out for a lot of people, not just for me. So I was like, okay, it's not just me, then that's good, like I'm not the only one nitpicking in my reality and trying to make everything perfectly. But it really is more about like, okay, the things just has to be done. And I know that based on what I've been sharing with my experience being here with my family and having to have to reorganize everything, and there have been so many downloads, so many insights, so many synchronicities again coming through with regards to what's been showing up for me and my friends, and how we were comparing notes and stuff. And I know that I already mentioned the social media and how I had to completely readjust and reassess and reevaluate and reprioritize what am I doing with my time, because now being other people involved in my reality, in my everyday reality, me cohabiting with other people, and there's been all these revolving doors going on with my siblings and the grandchildren and stuff. I just don't have the time to just spend all day absorbing social media content and stuff. And I mean, I hardly ever spent much time on Facebook and Instagram anyway, but I do a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of videos, I watch a lot of content, content. And during this Virgo season, I really had to completely reevaluate everything, and I'm like, is this still a value of me? Like, does this actually matter? Does this actually is this a priority for my time to actually spend time watching this? And I feel that right now, especially potentially because of the Mercury retrograde and now Mercury station in direct, maybe people are reevaluating, like, how do I want to use my time? And, how is this? Because also Mercury is in opposition with Saturn, isn't it? So it's like, how am I actually, is this still, does it have a meaning? Does it still have a meaning? Because Mercury is in Virgo now, Mercury is going direct. Mercury in Virgo is like, very organized, very methodical, step-by-step process, things has to be done. And it's kind of in a matter of the fact that also being still in a Virgo season, just about, we have the equinox happening next week. How am I using my time? And is this actually efficient? Yeah. And then things has to be done. There are certain things just have to be done. There's no avoiding it. It's just the everyday reality. And this is something that I really took away from this conversation my teacher had with Ari Mosh, which was about, well, it's no point making yourself feeling victimized, because we are having this human, this is not how they said it, obviously, but, like we can fall into this sense of victimhood mentality that, oh, I don't want to do all these things. And I do that all the time. Oh my God, like, I don't want to be here. What is all this human incarnation about? It's just like so much hard work, like all this eating and sleeping and going to toilet and shaving if you are a woman and stuff like that. And I'm like, not just as a woman, and men have to shave too, right? So it's like all these things that just have to be done, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to do it. And it's just so easy to slip into this like victimhood mentality. Whereas in essence, it's like, okay, well, I chose this. I chose to be born into the physical body and have this human experience, which comes with all this spectrum of stuff, spectrum of emotions. So I'm like, well, this is part of it, this having to have to take care of this vehicle, which requires us to eat, sleep, and drink, and, take a rest, and, go to bathroom and shower and all this kind of thing, all this like practical Virgo things, everyday maintenance is part of the story. It's part of the life, right? But another aspect of that is, we only have certain amount of time every day, 24 hours, and then how do we use that? And Virgo is very good organizer. Like, I'm sure that you guys with strong Virgo, you know what I'm talking about here. Virgo is very good with organizing things. Like, okay, well, is this a priority? How do we, what is the number one on the list that has to be done, that just cannot be not done? And stuff. So I think this is something that I become very aware, especially thanks to Mercury now going direct. So there is a little bit more clarity streaming through. Whereas before, like last week, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do it. This is hard, la la la. And now I feel that because of being in this situation now for 2 weeks, I'm actually halfway through. I'm going to England in less than 2 weeks. And now looking back, I'm like, well, actually, it's gone very quickly, and it's quite interesting because of having to face all these things which before were so like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to face this, just all this resistance. I had so much resistance, even just the idea, to come and stay with my parents for anything longer than 2 weeks was like, I'm not doing that, it's not happening, like it's impossible. And now I found myself in that situation, and it's just like this, okay, now what you're going to do about it? And like I said, when I just checked my chart, I checked my chart from, when I left Slovakia on August 31st, 2004. And now I just came back. And that was, of course, again, in a Virgo season. And actually, the day I left, moon was in Pisces. And I came back on the full moon in Pisces. So, of course, moon was in Pisces again. So I was like, oh my God, you can't make this up. You can't make this up, seriously. And like all these other things that were going on is just crazy. Like, so anyway, so I know that I'm still jumping from theme to theme because it's still Mercury in shadow, okay? Like I have a little bit more clarity, but it's not like, oh yeah, we all back to full capacity of our normal way of thinking. So yeah, I definitely feel and see things very differently than I did even yesterday with this new moon in Virgo energy that just like has been seeping through and stuff. But I have to say that now looking back at this past week, like of this Virgo season, me being here, back to Slovakia, and how this really has shifted things for me, because now even thinking like, oh yeah, even if I have to stay here another 2 weeks, now I understand what's going on here, also thanks to my teacher and the conversation and the space he created for me to express myself during our class last Wednesday. I understood that, well, the whole lesson that I was meant to learn here was not to try to get their validation, because I know they living in a completely different reality from mine, even though it is the same apartment, but it's a very different reality because we just have very different needs, values, belief system, perception of reality. Everything is completely different. Therefore, they are living their own story. They are living out their own story, which is what they chose here to do, and the role they playing for me. And of course, like me being into these families, it was a choice, right? Like nobody forced me. Like me, I chose this. I chose to be born into this family, and whatever that comes with, including their belief system and needs and values. So it was never about me trying to get a validation from them, because it's not going to happen. Like the life that I chose to live for myself is a completely alien to them. Like they will never understand. They try, and they obviously they care because they're my parents, but they will never understand it, and it's okay. And thanks to this conversation I was able to have on Wednesday, on the day of Mercury. I actually didn't understand it straight away, but now with the Mercury going direct, it just things are clicking into place for me, and I'm like, yeah, the whole point wasn't for me to get the validation from them. The whole point was for me to validate myself and my experience, and actually go, it's okay. And they can think that I'm selfish, they can think whatever they want to think, they can believe whatever they want to believe, but it's okay, because they have the right to believe and think and value and whatever they want, and this is exactly the whole point of live and let live. This is about the balance, which all the signs being in the opposition to one another. That's why there's 12 of them, and we are looking for the middle point, because if any of the axes it's like too imbalanced, then we have a problem here. Like with the Aries now, North Node is Aries, there could be an issue. Like it could be too much of an Aries energy. Every energy in essence is good. Like it all has positive and challenging aspects, but it's, as I keep saying, how we use them. And like I said, for me, and it's interesting because again this week we are doing Leo archetype, so this is all about the Leo and its polarity to Aquarius, and I'm Aquarius rising natally, even though now my progressed ascendant is in Aries, go and figure, and Mars is in my 5th house. I mean, seriously, you can't make this up. Yes, so what I'm trying to say, that there has to be the balance between the two. So it's the balance is being found where we like kind of master both of the archetypes and find the middle ground between the two of them. So it's like not like me just like going like, oh yeah, this is me and I don't care, like like yes, like it's my responsibility to validate myself and I do care, but it's like they're not going to change for me and I'm not going to change for them. It's about, like we still have a choice to surround ourselves with the people that see us exactly for who we are, but at the same time, respecting how other people see themselves and how they see me. So like my parents obviously see me a certain way, which is not how I see myself, but this is fine because they have the right to do that and I have the right to be who I am. So anyway, this might not make any sense or has any meaning to anyone other than me having my little monologue confession going on here. But this Virgo season, like seriously, has gone so deep. And I know it's been the same for a lot of people, especially because, like I said, Mars will always remain the ruler. While Mars became the ruler of the North Node, because when North Node moved into the sign of Aries, Mars was in the sign of Virgo, even though now it's in the sign of Libra, it's going to move into the sign of Scorpio next month. But Mars will always remain the memory of, yes, Mars was in the sign of Virgo when the node shifted and the North Node moved into the sign of Aries. So this Virgo archetype plays a very important role for this upcoming 18 months, 17 now, or whatever it is left until January 2025, when the node will shift again. So this Virgo season was very impactful. It was very important, very prominent, including the full moon in Pisces, which has stirred a lot of things. It stirred a lot of things and it brought it to the consciousness, because in order for things to be healed and integrated, we need to know what they are, because otherwise we don't know what we're dealing with. So is this like this opposite, this other face of Neptune, when we want to escape it and pretend it's not there, or, in my case, in the past couple of weeks, feeling victimized, it's their fault, why they just don't get it, they're impacting on my space and stuff, and I'm like, well, I'm the guest here, they just living their life, I'm the guest here, so, it's all good. And so we need to know what we're dealing with. And I feel now, after this, full moon in Pisces, when things were brought up to the surface again to be faced, and now this new moon in Virgo, even though the new moon is, we don't have like a full clarity for the next 6 months because it's a dark moon, but Mercury consequently stationing direct few hours after, and now things are starting to be seen from a different perspective, because during the new moon, Mercury was retrograde, so all the aspects that were not exact yet were under influence of Mercury in retrograde. Now, like for example, today, we have the exact trine between Sun and Uranus, and now we know Sun is going through the same territory Mars has been going last month, during the Leo season, when Mars was still, and I mean, Mars didn't move into the sign of Libra until August 27th. So Mars was still in Virgo for some part of the Virgo season, but still during the full moon in Pisces, it was already in the sign of Libra. So anyway, saying all that, Sun is touching everything that Mars had touched, during its transit through Virgo last month and just before. So these things are now becoming illuminating, because we are gaining more clarity, and now with Mercury had gone retrograde and now becoming direct again, we are seeing things differently. And I can definitely like confirm from my reality, from my point of view, that I'm seeing things differently. It doesn't mean that, things don't bother me anymore. I mean, no way saying that, oh yeah, it's all hunky-dory now, I don't care, like of course I do, but I can see them from a different point of view, which I wouldn't have been able to if I wasn't here. If I wasn't here, I would still look at it from the old concept, which was like, oh yeah, they will never get it and stuff. But I can see, even like yesterday, I had a conversation with my parents, and like my dad even said, you never come and sit with us, like my parents, they watch telly all the time. And it's something that I never like doing anyway. I don't watch television. I don't even own wherever I lived, I never owned television, and I don't care for television, because everything I watched is, on YouTube or my courses on like platforms and stuff. Like everything is on the internet. I don't watch television, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just not my thing. But this is something that is very important for my family, that they kind of like bond over watching something on the television, they snack and stuff, like food is always involved, and stuff like that. And this is not something that I'm overly, interested in. And yesterday, like last night, my dad said that, oh, you never come and sit with us. You are just like always in your room, like you are kind of like don't even want to belong here and stuff. And I felt kind of bad, because, like I was like, well, they're doing the best they can still, like they're my parents and they opened their, home to me, which is like, yeah, we would say, well, they are your parents, of course they would, but, I'm 38, like they don't have to, like it's my responsibility to find my place. And they're trying in the way they know how, it's not something that, I understand, or it's like something that is natural to me. Like I don't watch television. To me, go and watch some TV series is a waste of time, but each to their own, like they like it and it makes them happy. So I'm like, who am I to judge? I like watching my things, and they like, well, why are you doing that? That's a waste of time in their eyes. So it's like about finding the balance. But what I was trying to say, like, I had this like I could feel that my dad really was trying, like he really cares, like both my parents have Venus in Cancer, so they're very, very family oriented, very traditional, really very much so, whereas I have Venus in Aries, so like square, completely different direction here, like very, very different. But yeah, this is the thing, like we cannot really learn. There are certain aspects of ourselves we will never be able to learn unless we are with other people, because there's just so much we can learn in isolation. And that's why universe usually stirs the poop for us and go like, oh, okay, you've been single for a long time, let's give you someone to play with so you can see aspects of yourself which you can't see otherwise. The air is in opposition with Libra, because we need to be mirrored. We need to know that, okay, how do you see me? Or like, through that other person's eyes, to see these aspects of ourselves we can't see otherwise. So that's what I feel that's been really coming up for me a lot since I've been here, as much as it's been uncomfortable. But then, as I just was saying at the beginning of the video, it also helps me to understand, like, okay, and I mentioned that last time, where did I become too rigid and unflexible with my routine? Because when I look at my life, like, yes, I had a great time in Bulgaria, but I was just working all the time. Literally, sometimes it would be days without me even leaving the apartment. Like, yeah, I love my readings and I love making videos and whatever, but all in all, I wasn't really participating in life. I wasn't really going anywhere, meeting anyone. I was there for like 3.5 months and I haven't met anyone, like, I mean, some people, but very few. It's not like I was making some kind of huge connections or anything, because I was like completely guarding myself and my time and space. So I was like here, being in my family dynamic, all this Cancer material around me, and them having these values that they have, like, it's completely alien for them to to be around me, where I have completely different values. But it's also the fact that I have to adjust, I have to adjust this my behavior and my rigidity and my schedule, which I don't like, and it's not comfortable, and I complain about it. But in essence, now, when Mercury has stationed direct, I'm looking back at it and say, like, is it actually serving me? Was it serving me? Because going forward, and I am totally up for, like, going back to, like, a connection to nature and living in the nature and stuff. And even my mom called me on my bluff and said, like, well, how could you do that? Like, you continuously on your internet, so how can you go back to nature? Like, you kind of like contradicting yourself. You say you want simple life and you want to live in a nature, but you're always on your screens, so how does that work? And I'm like, that's a good question, isn't it? And I'm sure that this is actually a thing that a lot of people are contemplating in this time and age, because it's this rat race, this prison of our own making, or prison of making of our collective agreement that this is the time and age we're living in, and this is what we created, our collective creation of living in these fast times where everything is online and everything is available 24/7 and stuff. But in essence, it makes it almost impossible to switch off. And then when you do switch off, then you might come across judgment that, hey, you're not responding to my stuff. Then the other person feels unseen, and all these things come up. And then the question of, like, social media vampirism comes to question, like, okay, like, what's going on here? So there are all these different dynamics, and again, this is so multi-layered, and I know I'm just jumping from theme to theme here and probably make no sense, but all these things has been kind of coming up for me in my consciousness, and also through interaction with other people and what's been going on in their life, my people close to me. And this is definitely something that is present in our collective consciousness right now, like, in a sense that people want more time, they want to unplug, they want to go into the nature, but then there is all this FOMO, like, oh my god, am I missing out? Am I not watching something on YouTube and then I don't know what's going on? Or am I not participating in all these groups, in social media setting or whatever it is? And or am I not responding to someone, and then that someone is feeling unseen and feeling offended or something? So it's all these dynamics which come as a side effect of living in the time and age we are living at. But now, being in this Virgo season and being I'm sure, like, for everyone in their reality, whatever that looks like to you, being faced with, like, chop wood, carry water situation, that, well, this has to be done. When my 1-year-old nephew is around, this is what has to be done, you know, like you just have to get down to being practical and just being efficient with the time, you know, like, and there is this list of priorities and a step-by-step process how things has to be done. Very, very Virgo. And as I said, we just had this new moon in Virgo a few days ago, and this beautiful grand earth trine has been active, and the kite, you know, the new moon being in opposition with Neptune, and again, like, what are we escaping, what we don't want to see, or what is the higher meaning, what is the deeper meaning, and what is this opportunity for healing in all of that. Because like I said, the first time I actually left Slovakia in 2004, it was also under influence of the full moon in Pisces, and, you know, moon in Pisces. And now when I came back, full moon in Pisces again, moon in Pisces, and, you know, all these other things that were happening at the same time. And obviously not everything was the same as now. I had Saturn at the time in conjunction with Venus in my 6th house, again, Virgo, 6th house. Now Saturn is in Pisces, you know, so it's like for me, 6th house is not Pisces, it's actually Cancer. But well, you know, it's kind of like Cancer rule 2 houses for me, because I have interception. So anyway, so all that said, no, actually, Cancer rule 1 house for me. Gemini and Sagittarius rules 2 houses for me. But my moon, even though it's in Cancer, is still in the 5th house. But Cancer rules my 6th. But anyway, going back to this Saturn in a 6th, and Saturn is Virgo, 6th house is Virgo archetype, and now Saturn is in Pisces, and now here I am again, you know, full moon in Pisces, I have arrived, and all these things are happening. And now with what's been going on with Mars in Virgo, what Mars everything touched and said, like, okay, this is what needs to be sorted out and resolved and readjusted and reorganized potentially, because, you know, Mercury and all that. And this is, you know, how we gonna go forward from now on. You know, this is the route, this is the step-by-step process. And that's what I feel that it's happening right now, collectively and individually, when all these things have been stirred up, brought to the surface, shined in our face, like, hey, this is still something that needs resolving. And now with, you know, the planets going retrogrades, and now all the personal planets are going direct. Venus, obviously Mars was direct, he hasn't gone retrograde, but Venus and Mercury are now both direct. Of course, we still have outer planets going retrograde, Jupiter and Saturn, and the big boys, you know, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, even though Pluto is the next one to station direct, and that will be on October 11th, just before the first eclipse, which will be in Libra. But all that said, it's still a lot of time for introspection, reevaluation, and readjustment. You know, all this retrograde energy is forcing us inward, and to look at what already happened, look at what already took place, and readjust situation, like make a new choice, like potentially change things if they need changing because they are outdated, or they lost meaning, or they no longer resonate. And now with this Mercury going direct, and Mercury is like impacting us the most, because Mercury is our cognitive function, it's how we communicate, how we identify reality, how we learn, you know, all these kind of things. And Mercury now stationed direct, so we have this deeper understanding of everything that Mars was pointing at while Mars was in Virgo, and now Sun illuminated all of that, you know, illuminated, not eliminated, illuminated, you know, it put a light onto it. And today, you know, Sun is in an exact trine when I'm recording this with Uranus, which is all about breaking free out of the outdated patterns. You know, Jupiter is in the degree conjunction already with Uranus. There is the closing of the cycle. You know, the story is ending. And actually, as I mentioned in my astrological video, which will be released on Monday, the time when Mars was trining Uranus exactly while it was in Virgo was the day of the new moon in Leo last month, you know, on the August 16th, which I thought was so profound. And then, of course, we had Mars making the same aspects that Sun is going to be making next week, the exact opposition to Neptune, and the exact trine to Pluto, which will be for us taking place on Thursday. You know, the exact trine between Sun and Pluto will be taking place this upcoming Thursday. So we can see things are coming around again, but now they are under influence of Mercury, had gone retrograde and is now direct. So we might all see things differently, with a different clarity. We might be identifying them differently in a different way because now we understand something we didn't before. And also Venus is now direct. Venus is the ruler of the south node. We know that Mars is in a closing phase conjunction with the south node. It's going to conjunct in October 4th, which is a day before Mercury will move into, where is Mercury? Virgo, it's into Libra. So we have all these things are shifting, the energy is completely shifting. Like I said, we are approaching equinox, which will be taking place on September 23rd, and then we'll have the full moon in Aries, completely different energy. All this masculine energy, we're going into Libra season, masculine energy. Next month, we're going to have Mercury changing signs twice, Mars is changing sign, Venus is changing sign, Pluto is stationing there. All these shifts are happening. So that, of course, is impacting us in our everyday experience. And like I said, I can feel it in myself. And like as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I've already been here. I'm already more than halfway through my stay here this time around, because I'm going to England on 28th, which is interesting because it's only a day before the full moon in Aries. And then I was looking, and when I'm coming back on the 18th, there were some other things happening, which I don't remember. I think it was there was something to do with the south node, or it was Sun and Mars conjunction. I don't know. There was something exact happening on that day. I don't have my notes right here. It's in my astrological video. You can watch that. But I was like, I didn't even know when I was booking my flights, because I was like, okay, what's the cheapest ticket, right? Is there an eclipse? Okay, there is no eclipse. It's fine. Let's go. Let's travel. So, I was just like, well, yeah, full moon is a good thing, so that's fine. Let's go. That's okay. Third house for me is the Mars rules my third house. It's the Aries house for me. It's ruled by third house is ruled by Aries for me. So I was like, okay, so this makes sense to me. And it's just like really, when I like now consciously observe the astrology in my life, and then check my chart every now and again and go like, oh yeah, I get it. This opportunity for healing and this shift of the perception, and to see in myself in a different light, and to be able to validate myself, because like I said, Venus is now direct. So we had the opportunity during Venus going retrograde to learn about what do we need, what is our purpose, how do we want to be seen, how do we want to show up, but also like, why are we doing this? What is the intention? Is it just so the other people give us what we need? Or is it to be actually who you are? And then, people have the right to like it or not. It's their prerogative, it's their choice. So there are all these questions that are resurfacing, and now perhaps the answers could be different. We might answer the questions differently to what we might have answered them as prior to Mercury retrograde, which was also before Mercury station retrograde on August 23rd, right? So that was before the full moon in Pisces. So it's very interesting how so much has been brought up to the surface. I mean, at least I can say that that's been the case for me. I don't know what it's been like for you, but I very much doubt that nothing has changed and nothing has been coming to the consciousness for this, readjusting, reevaluating, redirection, or all these re's, plus, putting things in a practical application. And also having the opportunity to potentially heal and integrate. Because I know for me, this situation with my family is the one thing that's just been dragging like all my life, following me all my life. And where I'm hoping to get with this is the point of neutrality, which is this live and let live. Like, okay, I have a full understanding of this is what it is, right? I don't have to participate in that. And I also should never expect other people to just fully validate everything I am and everything I do, because that's not their place, that's not potentially in their capability, or it's not what they are, what they're here to do. Their role they play in my life, their soul contract, or, whatever it is. So, yeah, so I think there is so many breadcrumbs that's been coming through, especially since this Mercury station in direct, which was only last night. But I feel like completely, like my brain has like completely switched this morning. So that's why I'm like, is the video that I recorded yesterday, is it okay? Should I publish it? But I just don't have time to record it any other day. So, unfortunately, if it's not good, it is what it is, and I just have to let it go. I just had to let it be, with this still being at the last degrees of Virgo season. But we have the trine between Sun and Pluto becoming exact on Thursday, just before Sun moves into Libra on 23rd, which I believe it's a Saturday. So yeah, we did the best. We did the best we could, okay? It might have been not perfect, because it's never about perfection. It's always about the journey. It's about the experience. It's about the continuous growth. And, it's the hero's journey. It's this opportunity for, okay, what did I learn? What did I learn that I didn't know before? And if you learn anything, then that's a win, like it doesn't matter what it is. But what did I learn? Like in this case, okay, I learned that potentially I don't need to watch everyone that I follow, every single video I follow. And is it still relevant? Is it still a value of me? And in no way saying that what this person is saying or what this channel is promoting is not valuable, but is that what I need right here, right now on this part of my path? Because there are so many people out there sharing their content, myself included. I mean, if you're watching this, I'm very grateful for you choosing my video to spend your time over. So thank you very much. But there is so much stuff out there. You could literally just watch something all day, every single day for the rest of your life and not even scratch the surface, because this is the time and age we're living in. But then, is that healthy? Is that really what we should be doing, or what makes us feel happy? Because, if I know yesterday I really had to at some point turn my computer off and say I have to go out for a walk, because I felt like my brain was just about to explode. It was just too much. And there's the balance, isn't it? Is this between every axis, there is this point of balance, where we just want to get to the point where, yes, it's not just about all this escapism, and it's not just about this hard work and criticism and striving for perfection, but how do we connect the two? And that's what I feel that this Virgo season is about, that how do we connect the two? How do we connect our divine aspect of ourself with the human self? Like having the love and compassion and forgiveness for our humanness. And yes, for our shortcomings, 100%. Me looking back, even some of the things I said or done, a lot of the things I said and done in my life, and even especially being here in this environment, being potentially reminded of that, oh, you said this when you were, younger, whatever, or said that, or blah, 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 because, my parents, my dad is Cancer sun, like I said, they both have Venus in Cancer, they remember everything. So they're just put it in your face, oh, but this is what you said, this is what you've done, and they just never let you forget it, right? And I'm like, yeah. That's the person I used to be. I did the best I could at that time, but it doesn't mean that that's the person I'm now. And it's just trying to neutralize all these experiences. And like I said, having a compassion for our hero's journey, that yes, we are not meant to know everything, we just learn as we go along, and there is no such a thing as perfection. We will never, ever, ever feel that, okay, I'm perfect, I mastered everything. I don't think that even Buddha felt that way. Yeah, I knew everything, that's it, I'm done. Even though he was the avatar, and he is the ascended master, but there's always more to learn. And because the time is going forward, the things are different now than they were when Buddha was alive, or Jesus was alive, or whoever, all these ascended masters, when they were alive, the time was different. And now it's a continuous learning and adjusting. It's continuous. It will never end, because that's the school of life. And it's just this opportunity to just cut ourselves some slack. And even, like I said, even now, looking at even what I said 1 week ago, or what I said 2 weeks ago, or how I acted a few days ago, it's just I could be beating myself up about it all day, every day, or even the video I made yesterday that will be published on Monday, and beating myself up about it. Oh yeah, it could be better. I could have done better, And even now, I never, ever, ever took 1 hour to write notes when I prepare for my videos. And I'm like, what's going on here? It doesn't have to be perfect. People don't need to know every single date. They don't care anyway. They're not gonna go and write it down, okay, let me watch out for this. It's just okay, well, when it happens, it happens. I will talk about it again. But it's just this nitpicking, oh, it has to be perfect, I need to have it all figured out. But who does? Who has it all figured out? So now with this Mercury going direct, is the opportunity for us to maybe see things differently, different perception of the reality, different perception of how we see Virgo. And that's why I feel that this interview, and it's 11:11, just as I said that, this interview with my teacher Simon and his colleague, evolutionary astrologer, and very interesting person, Ari. This was such a profoundly insightful and such a deep hitting interview about Virgo qualities and Virgo archetype. It was so deep, and again, it's so multi-layered, because I feel everything with Mercury is so multi-layered. It's just like, I feel all the archetypes really, because they have so many aspects to them. But especially Mercury, it just makes everything so multi-dimensional. So it's just like, when I listened to it, I was like, oh yeah, of course. But is this something that I would be thinking of straight away, like first thing that comes to my mind? Probably not, right? So that's what I mean. It's so interesting. And now approaching Libra season, that how we will probably be wanting to interact with people more, because now was this deep hermit mode, this deep mode of introspection, with all these, like, some personal planets being retrograde and all these other planets being retrograde. But Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they're retrograde for like 5 months a year. So is Saturn, or Jupiter, like 4-5 months. So I mean, you cannot stop your life just because these guys go retrograde. So that's why, like, it's more the personal planets. Like, of course, Mercury goes retrograde like every 3 months or something. So we cannot, so these are the ones that like impact us more on a deeper personal level. But these outside planets, they are retrograde for a very long time. That's why half of the population is born with these planets being retrograde, because this is what creates this, this colorful spectrum of human consciousness, when there are people who are more like, oh yeah, this is fine, let's not question it, let's just keep going, and non-adjustment needs to be made. These people, they are really traditional. And then there are people who are like, no, we need to improve, we need to upgrade, we need to change things, what we can do, stuff like that. And that's why, like, you can see how these things are playing out in our human reality, where people are looking at things from a different angle, from different point of view. So the outer planets, they will remain retrograde. Like I said previously, Uranus will be the last one to station direct, and that will be at the end of January. So I mean, you cannot just, and then we're gonna have like 2-3 months when there will be nothing retrograde, and then again something retrograde, Mercury retrograde for sure. So we cannot stop living life just because planets are retrograde. But when personal planets go direct, we feel that, and they are direct now, all of them. Like Mercury, Venus, Mars, they are all direct. So it's like, okay, now what's next? And now the next thing, because now we are still just about in Virgo season for next few days, and it's all this like, we coming out of this hermit mode, right? Like, I mean, it's not like everybody was hiding in their home, for the past months, but it was more this introspection. There was a lot of deep thinking and reevaluating, and like, oh, what is happening, and universe bringing all these opportunities for us to look at again, and like perhaps completely see them differently and stuff. And now with Mercury going direct, we are probably seeing them differently. And now it's this point of integration, like there is this new moon in Virgo that just happened. Of course, we'll have the crescent phase of the moon soon, when moon moves where Scorpio, when moon will move into the sign of Scorpio, which is on Monday. We'll have the crescent phase. Well, I think the crescent phase will be on Tuesday, because the lunation happened on 21 degrees 59 minutes. But we'll have a little bit more clarity, a little bit more understanding. And then, of course, as the week progresses, and then we move into the Libra season, the equinox, there will be this desire for connection again. Like, okay, now I learned something. I understand something about myself I didn't before. Now, how can we, connect? How can we talk about it? How can we relate? Yeah, Venus, Libra, how can we relate? And Venus is going to go into Virgo. So Venus is like, I think on October 9th. So it's like, okay, how are we going to put this into practice? Now Venus is going to be the practical one. She is going to touch everything that Mars and Sun already touched, and illuminated. So now Venus, personal planet, it's like, okay, now how is this going to affect me? because Venus, like my relationships, my sense of self and preservation and what matters to me and da 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 da. So all these things are going to be affected, So we enter in the Libra season next week, and that's going to shift everything because it's the young energy and it's more action oriented, even though it's air, so it's a lot of thinking. But still, it's more like an action-oriented energy. And as I mentioned, then we're going to have all these planets changing signs, Pluto station direct, and then we're going to have the eclipses. So let's see how that's going to impact us all. I should be in England for the first eclipse, back in Slovakia for the second, and right after I should be going to Mexico. But who knows what the world has in plan, in store for us. Those are my intentions. But all that said, things are shifting. I definitely, myself, in my experience, can feel that things are definitely shifting. We are kind of coming to the other side of it, even though, like, I'm not going to England for another, 12 days. I already feel like it's, like, around the corner, even though it's, like, still, like, not fully 2 weeks, but I feel like, well, it's just one more week. And then the week later, I'm going already. And and then everything will change again. So it's very interesting how it's all happening at the same time. So anyway, guys, this video is again long, so I'm gonna leave it at this. I just wanted to share my little spiel, 50-minute long. And hopefully some of it resonates and maybe some of it is helpful. And I do highly recommend to watch this interview between my teacher and Ari Mosh about Virgo, if you would like to understand Virgo on a much deeper level, and perhaps help you to make more sense out of what just gone on in the past month or two, with Mars being in Virgo and then Sun being in Virgo, and this full moon in Pisces and new moon in Virgo. So if you would like to understand it on a deeper level, I highly recommend it. And of course, if you would like to study astrology with my teacher, go and find him. He's out there, and I'm sure he'll be running more courses. He always does. I highly recommend it. And if you would like to hear the astrological forecast for next week, then that's coming out on Monday. It's already scheduled for release. It's already been recorded. As I said, I had to reschedule my plan of how do I want to do things this weekend. And so we keep going because chop water continues. Chop wood, carry water continues for all of us. We're still in the Virgo season, and it's Saturday today. Sun, trine, Uranus. Tomorrow we have the last square between Venus and Jupiter, which again is needing us to take an action. Now we know more than we did before. Jupiter is still retrograde, but Venus is direct. So there is a lot of shifts, a lot of changes, a lot of adjustments, and I wish you all a beautiful weekend, and I will speak to you again next week. Much love to everyone. Thank you for listening. If you like, please like, subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.